Welcome everyone to this week's Insider's Edge. We are super excited about our special guest today. We are your hosts. I am Eric Tippetts.
I'm Jeff Jacobson.
And this week is special because, last week as we talked about, we did a recap when we started talking about the special insiders that we had on our weekly video cast. But we talked about the bigger purpose, the mission of why we're doing these video casts, to connect you with epic people, shine a light on amazing people doing amazing things in the world. But also, it isn't just another video cast or not just another podcast. We wanted to have purpose. We wanted to make sure that we were doing something that served the world, contributed to the world in a much bigger way. And I think we talked through the partnership that we've created with Manna Relief, and feeding every episode, we feed 1,000 children. And our mission, is really to feed 1 million children per day. So we're excited to lock arms with you guys to go through this, but also, really get into creating a face to the charity and a face to the partnership that we have created. So Jeff, I'll turn it over to you to introduce our special guests as we have housekeeping. Hi, say hello to everybody. I will check out today in like an hour after we
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Excellent.
All right, Jeff.
There she was.
All right.
I think everybody knows Sam Castor is our guest today, and Sam has had an unbelievable history. For those of you that are entrepreneurs in network marketing, you can recognize the names of some of the companies that Sam has founded and led, Manna Tech, Alivea currently, which we'll certainly get into. But what I'm most excited for, and what I'm really, really grateful to Sam for doing, and also being here, is what he's done through Manna Relief. And as Eric said, many of you know that we have partnered with Manna Relief, and it's our goal to feed 1 million children a day. And Sam has really led the way and put together an unbelievable organization that delivers joy, happiness, hope to kids around the world that need it. And so, talking about accolades, I'm not going to get in and say how many people Sam has signed up, but what I want to talk about is the impact that Sam has created globally through Manna Relief. And there's just some stats that I'm going to rattle off before we let him come on. And the Manna Relief presence has been in 89 countries. They have served over 130 million servings of proper nutrition to children around the world. 130 million. There's been over 13 million children impacted by Sam's efforts, and they have currently just shy of 1,000, about 950 field partners that are helping him create this impact across the globe. So Sam, without further ado, welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Woo! Appreciate it. It's great to be here. Thank you.
We are super excited to have you on. The conversations we've had offline has been amazing. And, we are privileged. We are, grateful to not only call you a friend, but also a partner in this journey together. And excited to shine a light on you and just who you are as a person. It's funny, I met Sam probably 15 years ago, 20 years ago at Manna Tech. And it's funny, you walk in and all the corporate everybody's in a suit, and Sam's in blue jeans and a button-up shirt. I thought, man, I love his simplicity to life, but also his selflessness and his giving. And so we're excited to go through that today and really shine a light on all of the things that you've done and are doing. But, before we get into your awesomeness, we would love to know, let's go back to where did you grow up? Let's talk a little bit about your childhood.
I grew up here in Dallas, Texas. I'm a native Texan. My dad worked for the Lone Star Gas Company. He was a pipeliner.
Whew.
And we lived in an area of Dallas called Oak Cliff. Pretty modest, upbringing, but just wonderful parents. And of course, life was very simple in those days.
Yeah, for all the technology kind of got in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, if you have a bicycle and a white t-shirt and tennis shoes, you could just about do anything you wanted to do in those days. So
That's all it took.
That's living right there.
that's right.
So your parents, as you start to look at, we've had guests on that, get into the subconscious and get into the mindset of, an entrepreneur, but also just things that kind of create an autopilot for us. And as you look at your childhood and your parents and, the beliefs that were instilled or painted for you as a young man, what did you go kind of the way of what your father was doing, or did you have like a whole different mindset of, where you wanted to go in life?
It's a great question. I think when I was growing up, like most kids in my era, it was just all about what was happening in our neighborhood. And I didn't have any grand scheme for life at the time. And, but my parents were very nurturing. I played all sports, which was all consuming, for a child in where I came from. And things were just kind of rocking along. And I guess I would have probably gone to college and from high school. And because that was my dad's dream, he was a depression child, and my mother was too. And they wanted to make sure all of the kids got a good education, because in those days, you get a good education, you get a good job, and you live happily ever after. And that was just kind of the game plan. And but something really, really interesting happened to me along the way when I was just starting my senior year of high school. This international organization that was called Up With People. And it was a musical show, but it was a demonstration of young people from all around the world who were setting their sights on leading that generation into the future. And it was just mind-boggling what they were doing. Well, anyway, they came and did a show in Dallas. And afterwards, they said if anybody would like to interview with us and think about joining. And I just thought, well, I don't know. I mean, that would be like a pipe dream. I just saw them for the first time, but I did. I went and interviewed, went through like a series of interviews and got accepted. And I look back on it now, and of course I have children of my own now. And I was starting my senior year in high school, and I left home.
Wow.
I hit the
traveling group.
I hit the road, and we traveled 365 days a year for the next, I was in it for about 3.5 years. But I look at the sacrifice that my mother and father made to just let me go. And it was the most selfless thing that probably anybody's ever done for me, because I'm not sure I could do that with my kids. I just love them so much. I don't want them to leave, but I think my mom and dad knew that from an opportunity standpoint, I would never have anything like that happen to me. With our limited resource, but I finished high school on the road. And that was just an incredible group. They put the whole organizational structure into the hands of the young people that were in it. And it was a not-for-profit educational organization. Part of our business was raising money, for this organization that had 3 international casts traveling full time and putting on shows all over the world, and that perspective alone, and just the concept of what are we going to do as a generation, to change the world? How can we impact what is going on? And there was a lot of focus on that. And so, I came home from that experience, and it was like life came to an absolute halt, right? I moved back in with my parents, even though I was just starting college. I had been out of school for 2 years. But my perspective was completely different. 3.5 years of globe traveling around the world. And we performed in front of heads of states and the popes and the thises and Super Bowls. We were everywhere.
Wow.
And we did a lot of training of young people. And what are leadership skills? What do you need to do if you're going to take responsibility for your life and the lives of others in the world around you? Couldn't have been a better perspective for starting life. But it did come to a halt when I came home. But I live with my parents because I owed that to them, But it was like, man.
You're like, I'm a star. You're like, oh, that's great. The dog, you clean up some poop in the back. You're like, I don't clean up poop.
It sounds
Well,
like
it really wasn't that at all. It was just, we had such an action-packed life for 3.5 years that coming home was like going back in time, but I started college with the perspective, and life actually with the perspective that I couldn't have gotten without that experience. And I think for the rest of my life, it's like nothing's impossible. There's nothing that we can't achieve with the right set of circumstances and the right mindset. And that carried over into obviously the rest of my education and to my business life, into where I'm at today with fulfilling what I think is the destiny on my life, so.
It's amazing. We always try to find, where's that pattern break? From a childhood, did they go down the same road as their parents, or was there a pattern break, or there, a break in the chain of starting to go a different direction? What an amazing thing at a senior, when you're a sponge taking it all in, to get that kind of mindset that it's possible, it's limitless.
I took high school on the road and graduated in Florence, Italy.
Wow.
It was just like, that was where we were when we graduated. It was just, and then I went from there to Expo, which at that time was in Osaka, Japan. And it was just an amazing experience.
So, go ahead, Jeff.
Sam, I think one thing that Eric kind of tried to preframe a little bit, one thing we like to do on these is as entrepreneurs, as impact creators, realize that we have behaviors and habits that we have that carry us through life. A lot of those we gained when we were children and don't even know it. A lot of ones we try to run away from, we also gained as children and don't even know it. Expand, if you will, a little bit on how impactful it is, the ability to get outside of the 10 to 15 minute bubble that most of us grow up in, going to school, to the grocery store, to our friend's house, maybe to church. Maybe we get that road trip vacation to Disneyland one year with our family across the desert. But we have a very limited view of what the world is, and more importantly, what our ability or capacity is in that world. If we live in this 10-minute bubble, we can get pretty big in that bubble. But boy, when you're traveling to Florence, to Japan, to all these other countries, you really see the world for what it is. And that is, it is a gigantic ball that millions and billions of people live on. And it kind of reframes our sense of what reality is. And for you to go experience that, as a high school senior and beyond, talk about the advantages that may have given you to how you perceive and look at your ability in life and how it's represented.
I think perspective is a great word, because I had none living in Oak Cliff, the section of Dallas I grew up in. I mean, the big deal is, what are you going to do on the weekend? There was nothing about, no global issues that I was concerned about. But a lot of us in that group were from the United States. That was during the Vietnam War. And all of a sudden you're traveling around the world and you're getting all these different viewpoints of, who is America? Who are you guys? What are you doing? What are you going to do about problems that we have here in Africa? What do you think that opportunities are for blending cultures together? I mean, just anything and everything. So it was probably more about perspective than anything that I could have participated in, because, and for the rest of my life, and of course, another thing is, because they turned everything over to you, there was nothing that was impossible. We had to find our own funding. We had to do, put on shows. We had to go into communities and solicit people that would be sponsors. It was anything and everything. And it was just, I remember going to International Pharmaceutical Convention, because they were big backers of what we did, and getting business cards and going to the president of companies like Merck and Eli Lilly, and sitting down with them in their office and asking for $10 million, and this is what we're going to do. This is how we're changing the world. If you don't invest in youth, then you're going to get exactly what you pay for, and again, it was just that perspective. But then learning, I think, to meet the needs of people everywhere. What are people struggling with in their lives? How can you break status quo? Because status quo is probably the biggest enemy of change and opportunity. People just get bound into it. There's a lot of businesses that profit from status quo. And how do you break out of that and create a paradigm shift? And so, yeah, that was all incredible experience.
That's amazing. That is just amazing. That I wish everybody got to have that opportunity to see the world.
Yeah, I do too.
What do you transitioning into kind of your professional career and tell us where did that, as you moved into, which I'm just sitting here thinking about, not only are you performing, it's like I'm in the show, but I'm going and funding the show. It's like, talk about 5 different hats that you're putting on constantly. But what a great learning education as far as starting to learn as an entrepreneur all the different hats that you wear, of starting to build a business and raising the capital and actually going out and talking to people. So talk a little bit about that transition into your professional career.
Well, I did go to college, of course, after I came back. I didn't have any plan of action. Nothing in college really interested me. I knew that I had this entrepreneurial type of anointing on my life, and I just didn't know how to plug that in to anything tangible. It's kind of interesting. This is a little side story, but I was playing in a band working my way through college, right? So, and one of the things that I had done in the Up With People group, I'd scheduled a tour of Nevada. And the sponsors that we had were a family called the Harrahs, who owned all the Harrahs casinos. And so I was in my senior year of college, and Bill Harrah and his wife, we just reconnected one day on the phone. And what are you doing? I'm going to school and, playing it. Well, what kind of music are you playing? I told them. They said, well, why don't you come play here in Reno? We'll put you up and at the hotel, and, well, in order to do that, I had to drop out of school. And I'm in my senior year of college, but it was such an unbelievable opportunity. I thought I just need to take advantage of it. But again, my dad's dream was that every child was going to get an education because that equated to success, right?
Right.
And so I had to sit down with them and tell them I'm dropping out of college in my senior year. I'm going to go play in a band in Reno, Nevada, at Lake Tahoe.
That's every parent's dream.
Yeah.
Oh, he was devastated by that. But what was really funny about the story is, so we were playing at Lake Tahoe at Harris, and in the main room is Frank Sinatra. So, on the billboard out front was the name of our group, and right above it was Frank Sinatra. So I took a picture of that and I sent it home.
Oh, that's great.
It's amazing. Everything was okay after that.
That's awesome.
My dad, he's playing with Frank out there.
That's right. He used that picture.
But I went from that into the restaurant business because I love the service industry, because we played in a lot of those hotels that had restaurants. And anyway, I just kind of got connected to that and sort of moved away from the entertainment side of it into the management side of it. And because of my experience of raising money, raising capital and investment was almost second nature. And I raised the capital to build a chain of restaurants. And I did that for several years. Got out of that, moved into the energy business. And again, I think what I was looking for is is how do I create disruptive technologies that change things, for the better? How do you challenge status quo? And that's kind of what my passion was around.
So one thing that I think would be really interesting to talk about, there's many entrepreneurs that are going to be watching this.
Uh-huh.
And, as you have built businesses, and especially, one of the businesses being Manna
Yeah.
that was a network marketing business. Alabea
Yeah.
is network marketing. So
Sure.
you have had independent business owners that you have watched come in, hundreds of thousands, millions come in through, whatever door it might be coming into.
Yeah.
And watching, the leaders, people just absolutely take it and run to the top, and then people that struggle and fall out. What would you say are some of the biggest traits? Like as you look back or you look at your
Mhm.
top leaders, what are the characteristics? Are there, two or five or things that you can pinpoint that people that are watching this can say, all right, like what does it take to be at the top?
You know, uh, from my experience, and of course, I haven't had a lot of companies. I had one for 20 years, which was Manatech, right? That was the majority of my adult life. And but I started that company because I discovered a pharmaceutical company that had actually made a discovery, filed a patent on it, was having a very difficult time of getting into the marketplace, and I thought that the network marketing distribution model would be perfect for it. And so I launched Manatech, licensed that technology, and of course, it was in natural health. And what I found is that I thought it would be people that had like a healthcare background would be the most successful. But actually, the most successful are the people that had the biggest belief. And so the people that had the best experiences, I mean, these are people that had all kinds of different health challenges. Most of them had been given a bad report, like nothing you can do about this. You're going to have to be on this medication or this therapy or whatever the rest of your life. And all of a sudden they get free to that bondage, through this intervention of this incredible technology. And it's almost like becoming religious. I mean, they just have such a passion for making a difference in the lives. So number one is the belief in what you're doing. I mean, there's nothing bigger than that. They outperformed healthcare professionals with 10 years of education in health sciences because they had the one thing that you can't teach, and that's belief. There's an old saying that 10 experts with an opinion are no match for one novice with an experience, right?
Oh,
And
I like
really,
that.
and it really didn't matter what anybody said about the type of business or whether it was medical or not or whatever. All they knew is that I was blind and now I can see. And everybody in the world should have the right to get access to this technology. So that's number one, is their belief. you know Number two, those that would dedicate themselves to some simple disciplines. I mean, it's easy to say I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that, but those that actually follow through. I saw a presentation by a man named Jim Rohn one time, and he
Mhm.
said these disciplines are easy to do. And because they're easy to do, they're easy not to do. And so everybody's got the scorecard. I mean, here's the few things that you do on a consistent basis. And if your message is right and it's authentic and the value you're bringing your customer is legitimate, uh, then it's just a matter of doing the disciplines over and over and over and staying committed. So belief and disciplines, the simple things that you do on a daily, weekly basis to get your message those are the two biggest things, Eric, that I think I saw success come from.
It's amazing how many people I hear say, the excuse to themselves, I'm not a salesperson. I'm not great at sales. I'm not an extrovert, going out there, not realizing what I've noticed is many salespeople don't do well in network marketing.
That's
Just
right.
because, they're number one, they're not replicatable.
Right.
They can go out and just, get anybody to jump in with them. But how do you create something that is replicatable to where anybody in anywhere in their life can be successful? I think you really just broke it down to, and I just noted, things that I built. It's that daily process. It's
Yeah.
that daily consistency that I never looked at. There's lots of days that don't have a result as far as,
Yeah.
nobody joined your business or, you didn't sell a product, but you consistently work that daily process every day. And you find that results they show up. They show up in your life. And so this is absolutely powerful for people to hear. Here's a person has watched
Yeah.
tens of thousands, millions of people, entrepreneurs. These are very simple steps
Yeah.
and doable. You just got to do them.
One of our biggest, most successful leaders, I loved his story because he said, the first time I heard about the concept of network marketing, I just thought, that's my ticket out. And he said, so I followed the instructions. I did everything they told me to over and over and over. And I did it for about 10 years and never had any level of success. But his wife was a brittle diabetic and she was on death's door, and he got somehow introduced to the technology. He couldn't believe that something like that existed and, denied it. Finally came to a meeting and heard the story. And he said, if this is true and this works on my wife, forget the money. I'm going to take this to the world because there's millions of people like me that will go to bed tonight praying for a solution to a health challenge that they're facing or their spouse or child or something. And there's no good solution. And he said, I could do this the rest of my life. And his wife had that kind of experience. And he just became evangelical about it. And now everything that he had learned paid off in the most incredible way. He learned the disciplines, he learned the skills, that are necessary to duplicate yourself. He just never had anything to plug into that generated the value back into the marketplace. And once he tied into that, it was all over.
It was game on.
That is so powerful. I heard somebody say, be a part of a mission, don't be the missionary.
Exactly.
So people get so stuck in being the missionary that you are this lone ranger, many people working from home, trying to figure it out, and all the mind, negative self-talk and things. But when you're a part of a bigger mission, like you talk about, of really helping the world and contributing and serving the world, it becomes a lot easier to get those simple tasks done because they don't seem so small. There's things that are so much bigger that you're a part of, that it really helps you get past those excuses that most people typically tell themselves.
And that's at every level of the industry, every level of the company that I was in, from the very top position, which was me, the founder, all the way down to the person that joined yesterday. The thing that shifted for me, and this is what I was looking for. I heard somebody call it convergence, and that's where you find what you're really passionate about. You link it to what you're really good at, and you find a way to monetize that. And that's what I was looking for. What is that thing in life that I would love to be a part of? I mean, I know I'm good at business. I know that I'm good at bringing new technologies, but there was something in my life that was missing. And so this technology that I had, without going into great depth, but it's what we're going to be working with right now, is this. It's a technology that turns on immune systems unlike anything that exists in medicine. And so I was over in Romania, and my wife and I were starting our adoption process. We adopted all of our kids. from all over the world while I was at Manna. In fact, I was expanding internationally faster than my company at the time. My family was. And so,
yeah, you had your own built-in company.
Exactly. So I was in Romania, and I was supporting financially an orphanage organization. And the caregivers were making their presentation. At the end of the presentation, they said, you know, we just got to tell you, it's heartbreaking to see what's going on with our children. They're sick all the time. We're losing 30 to 40 kids a year. And I said, do you know why? And she said, well, malnourished, toxicity, poor sanitation, all compromises these children's immune systems and makes them susceptible to every kind of chronic and infectious disease. So what would be a cold or a flu in our country turns into a life-threatening condition over there. And I'm sitting here with the best immune supporting technology that exists in the world. It's patented. It's got $100 million worth of research behind it. And I know exactly its mechanism of action. And I knew what it would do for those children. And the minute she said that, it was just like the light bulb came on. There's something about what's going on with these kids that is part of my destiny. I don't know how it's all going to work out, but I'm going to figure this one out. So I said, I'm going to send you this product. All you have to do is mix it into their food, but it'll turn whatever they eat into the most nourishing thing they will ever eat. And it will transform their lives in ways that you can't imagine. And she was willing to do that. And so we did that for a year. At the end of the year, we reconnected. And she said, not only are our kids healthier than we've ever seen them, but for the first time in a decade, not one child died.
Oh, wow.
And as an entrepreneur, Eric, I have been rewarded every way you could possibly imagine, you know, with the successes. But nothing was ever as rewarding as that lady that day saying, you know, for the first time in a decade, no children died. And then I knew that what I was really good at doing could be connected to what I was really passionate about doing, and I could monetize it. So the other thing she said is, listen, everybody we're connected with in the world wants to know, where do you get this? How can they get access to this? All the other orphanage organizations. So finding orphanages was not the problem. You know, raising money became the problem because we opened our own not-for-profit. And, but then over the next 20 years, as you said at the beginning of this call, we've sent out over 135 million servings. And, you know, my distribution partners in parts of the world are former presidents of countries like Vicente Fox, who we're going to go see in Mexico.
Yep.
And his wife, Marta, or President Museveni in Uganda, or Benakinga, who was the Department of Health Minister in Kenya, or David Ajibade in Nigeria, or I even sent products into North Korea. You know, I mean, if you can believe that we could do that. But what I found is if you can save a child's life, you can go anywhere in the world. And you can have a meaningful conversation with anybody. I think one of the challenges in this industry is people never feel comfortable to talk to everybody they know about what they're doing. But if what you're doing is connected to something that is bigger than yourself, you can talk to anybody, anytime, anywhere, and have a meaningful conversation.
That's a great point. That's a great point, Sam.
So powerful.
You know, I say to prove that, the way I met Vicente Fox is he was doing a fundraiser here in Dallas, and I got invited to it. And afterwards, they said, if you'd like to meet President Fox, stick around. You know, he's very free with his time. So I did. I thought I'll stand in line and say hi to President Fox. And so I did. And my turn came up and he said, so who are you and what do you do? And I said, I'm Sam Castor. I'm a social entrepreneur. And I have developed the most advanced technology for impacting children's health that exists in the world. And my goal is to get it to every child in need. And he said, what are you doing in Mexico? And I said, really, I'm not doing much because I haven't found the right distribution partner yet that can give me accountability. And this is exactly what he said. He said, do you think my wife and I would qualify? Now, I say that to say, you know, you get into this business, let's say you make a list. Who would put Vicente Fox on their list? Nobody.
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 Why? He's too big, too important. You know, if you have a mission and a goal and a connection to something that is so much bigger than your paycheck, you can talk to anybody, Eric, and again, have a meaningful conversation. And that was a decade ago. So the Foxes became a distribution partner. We became great friends. And they've introduced me to leaders all over Central and South America. And that's the benefit of going beyond yourself and tying something like, I mean, I love your vision for what you're trying to do for your organization. Connect it to something that goes beyond the financial opportunity that comes with this business, because that's the intangible. That's the thing that everybody, no one has ever said, are you in one of those saving children's lives deals? You know, no one has ever said that to me. It's just like, that is amazing what you're doing.
I mean, think about, I think people get so stuck on, let's just talk about health and wellness,
Yeah.
and a product, and they get so stuck on what that product is and trying to figure out, how do I unload some of this product on people?
Yeah.
Not realizing you've got to step up and look at the bigger mission. What you just said, to where you can talk to anybody anytime, it's because you had a much bigger thing going on, saving the world. I mean, to have a president say, how do I help? That just shows you are thinking it in such a capacity that he could actually connect to you. I mean, this
And
is
if your organization like yours is actually connected to that, then you have the right to leverage that story, because you are involved in something that is changing the world, that is bringing a solution to a problem that nobody's gotten their arms around. 6 million children a year die of immune deficiency related issues in the world. We got the best technology to do that. And all it takes is people that are willing to step up to the plate and say, every time you talk to someone, share a video, whatever, we're going to nourish a child with this life-changing technology. Now that gives me the right to say, I want you to listen to this because it's tied into our social cause. And I don't care what you do with it. You just need, this is our incentive to have you just listening to it. And for you listening, it'll also feed a child or whatever it turns out, because then I have the right to demand that you follow through and do it, because it's bigger than what I'm going to get out of it. It's legitimate and it's authentic.
It's an interesting thing. Everyone that, if people are on or are seeing this and a part of our rocket recruiting, they just saw the new dashboard that launched today with Project Smile. And the whole thought process behind this is, number one, we want to guilt the crap out of everyone, saying, hey, if you're not doing your daily actions, a child is not getting fed today. And we really wanted to make sure that just by working your daily process, it isn't a, when I get some money, I'm going to go help. No, just by working your daily process, a child is getting fed. If you don't work your daily process, a child is not getting fed. And so we wanted this to become something that people go, I have to do my actions. I have to work on my business. It's a much bigger thing that I'm a part of, that I'm going to make sure that I don't give up on.
Yeah, and the people that you're contacting with your daily actions, that becomes part of the equation too. I'm part of a social business that is making this available to the world, and we just want to educate people. And all we ask you to do is just listen to something. And if you listen to it, our organization nourishes a child through Manna Relief. It's the most incredible thing that you could possibly be a part of. Nobody says no to that. They may not want to do your business, but nobody is going to reject you for having a passion about saving the life of a child.
Sam, I think what you've done is you've created a paradigm shift for charity. And the traditional model, and it makes a lot of sense now knowing your background, is fundraise. We got to go fundraise. We got to go talk about it. Let's get people involved. The bigger the organization, hopefully the more amount of money they can contribute. But you've kind of shifted that and moved it more into social business partnerships, being a social entrepreneur. And I think what that's done is it's kind of like what crowdfunding has done for new products. It's given people the ability to say, I'm not a CEO of a company. I don't have $10 million, but my goodness, I'm an entrepreneur. I can come in and do my activities every day. And thanks to people like you and Eric for putting these programs together, what it's done is I think that you said it earlier, Sam, one important thing that you learned by traveling is you got to learn what people's needs were.
Yeah.
If you don't know what people's needs are, how can you help them?
Right.
You can't do it. And so I think you've really shifted that paradigm of, we don't need to go out and get people to contribute hundreds of millions of dollars. If they want to, we'll take it. But also you have a responsibility, a social responsibility as an entrepreneur, not just to make money, but to realize you have an impact, and an impact globally starts with each one of us individually. And for you to be able to take that to the masses, it was certainly the inspiration and motivation. I know for Eric and myself, as we put this together, we were so impressed with how you had brought the ability to contribute, brought the ability for people to have an impact to everybody, to each individual. It really gives everybody the opportunity to connect with that thing that's bigger than themselves. And I love that's where the direction of this has gone.
And I know you guys are going to help people track that. And what's amazing is tracking the number of children is not related to a rank in a company or a paycheck. It's just because of the activity that I've committed myself to. This is the impact that I'm making in the world. It doesn't have anything to do with anything other than I'm just committed to getting it done. When I started the Manna Relief, which is the first time I'd ever been involved really in this kind of a fundraising activity, it took me about 30 days to figure out not-for-profit is full-time begging, part-time work. Because nothing happens unless you're out there soliciting. You don't have any time to really invest in what you're trying to accomplish because all of your time is spent fundraising. Social business changes that paradigm, just like you said. It connects to organizations who have got daily activities that are necessary. And if you incentivize people to go beyond themselves and complete those, they'll be successful. And then it translates back to sustainable funding for us. And, I learned about social business. It's, sometimes necessity is the mother of invention, right? 2008 came along. The economy took a nosedive. I lost 60% of my funding in 1 year. Wow. And it's never come back. That year's called the Great Recession. So I was explaining to President Fox why I was having to cut back on the amount of product that we were providing children in Mexico. And he said, you need to find out about social business. He said, I'm hosting the first international symposium on social business this summer. The guest speaker is going to be Mohammed Yunus, who's the Nobel Prize winner for the creation of microfinance, which I know you guys know something about. Mm-hmm. And Eric, I know you know Mohammed Yunus. And so I went down there, and again, it's just one of those turns in the road that changed everything. How do you link your business into funding your charity in an effective way? And what kinds of organizations can do that? And what are the biggest problems in the world that no one is adequately addressing? At the very top of the list was healthcare. And our model for healthcare is so broken, so expensive, so unsustainable. And we just sat down there and built a template for how to create a social business. But those are the connections that you could have only gotten because you're dedicated to go beyond yourself and make a difference in the world. And every single person associated with you is a legitimate part of that equation.
It's so powerful because I think people think of it in too big of a scope. They go, man, I don't have the money to go save the world, but not realizing that it's nourishing one child. It isn't, you don't have to go so big, but do something every day And I love the aspect. I hope everybody that's listening to this is a mission. We're on a mission, a much bigger thing. And this is why it's so powerful to talk about this and connect them to you, is that we want to be a part of this bigger mission. When we say our goal is 1 million children getting fed every single day, that's a mission, that's a movement, and we're going to do it. And so everybody here is a part of this. We're all going to do this together, and you start to see that you're making impact. And that's one thing that we're going to actively do for you guys. And we even talked about many of you on the call coming and joining us as we're going out to Mexico with Sam and going and meeting Vicente Fox and his wife. So we want to make sure that you guys are included and a part of that journey, so you never get stuck in that small of what I'm doing here today. You're a part of this thing that's constantly moving, it's constantly building, evolving, growing, flexible as we're going across the world. And so people, never get out of the know of what we're up to.
And because of the business model that we have, everybody on this call has their sphere of influence. Who has their sphere of influence? Who has their sphere of influence? And everybody is doing the same activities. So your ripple effect is not just what you create and donate, it's the impact of you and your influence over others. And I have people right now whose ripple effect, just because of their influence over others and others in this model, have already donated over 1 million servings, this advanced nutrition to kids in need. And that's what will happen with the people in your organization. They'll wake up one day and they'll see 100,000 children have been nourished as a result of my single effort of inviting people to be a part of something of such significance. And then it's 1 million. And then you just couldn't fathom as an individual having an impact on 1 million children, but that's all possible.
It is.
To me, that's fulfillment. That's purpose. Yeah. Like we talk about, so we created Project Smile. And so we look at, let's go see how many smiles we can give.
Yeah.
Every child that gets fed has a smile on their face. So let's go create more smiles out in the world. And really, that's contagious. That's something that people want to be a part of. They want to be a part of a mission, and especially when we're out there and getting to see the faces of these children, it becomes very personal for people.
Yeah. Well, and Eric, first of all, you have got an incredible skill set for doing what you're doing. But there's a lot of people that can teach you how to make a living. There's very few that can teach you how to have a life. And by connecting what you do and what I do together, it is a completely different experience.
I love it. You guys, this was so impactful for us. We wanted Sam to come on so you understand who's behind the partnership, who's behind the mission and the movement, and why we're so passionate about it. We talk all the time about having purpose. And like you talked about, you can go and figure out how to make money in certain places. And I've met so many people, extremely wealthy people, that have all the money in the world, but they're emotionally bankrupt.
Yeah.
And they're just trying to figure out how to keep feeding that ego and not realizing that it's a never-ending void. They're trying to fill that fulfillment. And I think this is what we're creating here in this partnership and this mission, this bigger movement that we are creating, is something that is going to feed and nourish a lot of people's souls.
I think you're right. I know you're right.
I think we're on to something here.
Definitely.
I think we're on to it, Eric.
So we are super excited. We're coming up to the end of the hour. We're excited for you guys to get to know Sam better, more intimately. We're excited to share Pat's on this call. This is a new team member we're going to be collaborating and doing these field trips that we really want to go and film and go, into your world and go into these orphanages and go see the impact that we're creating in these lives, these children's lives, and put smiles on our tribe, on all of the people that are part of this mission with us. And we're super excited that you guys are constantly sharing, this movement, constantly sharing the all of the insights and all the things with your tribe, your sphere of influence. We appreciate you guys for doing that. So Sam, how do people connect with you? People want to connect and say hi and say thank you. How do they do
that? Go to Caster at Manna Relief. That's MANNA relief.org. Caster at mannarelief.org. Yeah, send me a note. Say you were on the call today. Love to just connect with you and start a relationship. It's going to be good, Eric.
We can't let you leave though without our 5 questions, Sam. One thing, thing that we do on every interview is we have 5 questions, and we didn't let you know what those were because we didn't want you to prep for them and have the best answer.
That's good. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
they're really just designed to have you share with us the first thought or sentence or idea that comes into your mind, and it's kind of a fill in the blank sentence. And so, if you're ready for them, they're really quick. I'd like to get started with them.
Oh.
All right, are you ready? Question number 1. My purpose is
to impact the world.
I think you're doing a phenomenal job of that. Getting a great start on that. All right, excellent, excellent. Question number 2. My vision is.
My vision is to bring the most important technology to the world's most vulnerable children.
Man. Awesome. Awesome. All right, question number 3. I am blank.
I am anointed for business and transformation.
Well, I love that. That's one of the funnest questions each week, to hear how people answer I am. And I'll tell you what, that's a new answer.
That's right. I am a tiger.
Yeah. I am anointed for business. I
love it. All right, question number 4. It all comes down to blank.
It all comes down to a few disciplines.
All right, back on topic. All right, last and final question. What I understand best is
how to provide an unprecedented opportunity for everybody in life that wants to go beyond themselves.
Awesome, Sam. Those are phenomenal. We'll have this recorded and captioned. So for those of you that didn't get a chance to write those notes down, we'll make sure you get a chance. But Sam, I'll let Eric say a few words afterwards. I just really appreciate everything you've done. You've made an impact. The relationship that you and Eric made years ago, I have fortunately been drawn into it at this point in my life. And we talk about wanting to be a part of something bigger than yourself. Something that's much bigger than what you think you are capable of. And what you're doing right now has clearly shown that that's possible. And I could not tell you how grateful I am for this opportunity. We're so excited to go out and impact the world. And I can't wait to be there with you, watching the smiles that we spread out there. I just can't tell you how grateful I am, Sam. Thank you so much for jumping on. We got a great future together.
I love the name with the smile in it too, because when you get down there to these orphanages and you go in, these kids will come running up to you. They will hang on to you. They won't turn loose. Little things like the girls bring fingernail polish, and just polish the nails of these little girls. It is the most amazing experience that you could possibly imagine. And everybody on this call ought to be on a trip with us, Eric.
Well, and that's what we've talked about is, the people that are showing up. I mean, that really is the key, is show up. Be present, be conscious about what's going on in the world. So many people want to turn their eyes and just focus on things going on in their personal life, not realizing how much bigger that they can get. I think that your answer to that last question I thought was so important for people to understand. I mean, you have given a vehicle for people to step outside of themselves, be
Right.
bigger than themselves if they want to. You know,
Yeah.
it really comes down to each individual being able and be willing and open to go beyond what they see every day and believe in something bigger, but also contribute to it. And so what an incredible life journey that you're on, and providing people the engine and the vehicle to be able to jump on that train with you. And we're one of them. So
That's
we
gonna be fun,
appreciate
Eric.
it. We
All
salute
aboard.
and we appreciate just the friendship that we've created, and there's so much more to come. So thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Sam.
guys. Okay,
All right.
see you guys.
All right, you guys, thank you for joining us on this week's video cast with Sam Castor. Is it CEO, founder of Manna Relief, founder of Manna Relief?
Yeah.
As we've mentioned, every one of these video casts, we are donating and feeding 1,000 children just for you guys showing up. So we appreciate you guys being on here. Share this, comment, let Sam know, what you thought of the show today. Go connect with him and give him a big thanks, and give him a big virtual hug over this. But thank you so much, Sam. Look forward to much more. Thanks,
Okay,
you
see you
guys.
guys.
We'll see you next week on The Insider's Edge. Talk
Thanks,
soon.
everybody. Bye-bye.
Hello.